Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to draw the side profile of one of the greatest footballers of all time, Lionel Messi. Whether you are a seasoned artist or just starting out, this tutorial will guide you through every step. So grab your pencils and let's get started. First, let's go over the art materials. Here you can see all the art supplies that I am using in this video. By this you can get an idea about what are the art supplies that you can use for your drawing. And I have already drawn these outlines using grid method. You can find all the reference photos in my WhatsApp channel. The link is in the description. Now moving on to the detailed shading of eye. Begin by using your HP pencil to carefully refine the outlines of the iris. This will help to establish the structure and ensure all the elements are well defined. After refining the outlines, add light base within the iris to create smooth base layer. Once the base is in place, switch to 4B pencil to add deeper shade in the pupil and upper portion of the iris. 4B pencil will give you darker, richer tone that contrast well with the lighter base. To soften the transition between these two layers, use a small brush to gently blend the graphite, ensuring a smooth gradient. After blending, grab your 6B pencil to intensify the darkness of the pupil and other shadowed areas within the iris. The 6B pencil's soft rich graphite allows you to add depth and enhance the realism of eye. Lightly smudge the graphite with a small brush to soften any harsh edge and create more natural look. Once the shading is satisfactory, use a kneadable eraser to lift excess graphite from the shiny parts of the iris. This step is important for adding a reflective quality of the eye. Next, use your electric eraser to draw precise white curved line in the iris, which will represent the reflection of light on eye's surface. This highlight adds a sense of depth and realism, making the eye appear more lifelike. Then take your 8B pencil to apply a pitch black shade in the pupil and the darkest areas of the iris. This step is essential for creating the final contrast within the eye, making the pupil stand out sharply against the surrounding tones. Again, use a brush to gently smudge this layer, blending it seamlessly with the rest of the iris. To add more further realism, use the same brush to apply very light shade in the sclera, exerting lightly more pressure in the areas where the sclera naturally darkens. Differentiate the tear duct from sclera by shading slightly darker to distinguish the skin texture and tone. Moving on the eyelid, use your 4B pencil to shade shadowed portion of the eyelid. Then blend it with the brush to create smooth transition. To add even more depth, use a 6B pencil to darken the shadows further, enhancing the three-dimensionality of eye. Dip a small brush into HP graphite powder and lightly apply to the eyelid to create pale skin tone. This method allows you to achieve consistent, realistic tone across the eyelid. Now extend the shading across the eyelid, concentrating more graphite in the areas where the shadows are darkest. After establishing the base, take your 4B pencil to carefully draw the eyelashes, paying close attention to the direction and thickness of each eyelash as seen in the reference photo. To create sense of depth, use an 8B pencil to add pitch black tones in the most shadowed portions of the eyelid. This will enhance the contrast and make the features pop. Then use your 6B pencil to refine the eyelashes, following the same directional strokes you created earlier with 4B pencil. This layering technique will give the eyelashes a fuller, more and natural appearance. After that, use the same brush to lightly add base shade in the lower eyelid. To further define this area, use an HP pencil to draw fine wrinkles, capturing the delicate skin texture. Before adding final touches to the eye, let's move on to shading forehead to avoid accidentally smudging the details of the eye. Begin by lightly applying graphite to the forehead, working in small circular motions. Use 2B graphite powder in darker areas to create depth and shadow. Next, take your sharp 4B pencil to begin drawing the individual hair of eyebrow. Start at the base of eyebrow. Use light quick strokes to mimic the natural thinness and tapering of each hair. Overlap the hairs slightly and vary their length to avoid uniform appearance. To enhance the depth of eyebrow, switch to a 6B pencil focusing on areas where shadows naturally fall. This will give the eyebrow a three-dimensional look. Finally, add a dark line along the sides of sketch to differentiate the face from the background, ensuring that the features stand out clearly. Once the basic shading is complete, identify or create the bright highlights on the face. Use a pencil eraser to lift the graphite in these areas. Paying attention to the reference image, carefully draw dots and lines on forehead. After placing the highlights, refine them by adjusting the surrounding shadows and blending the edges of highlights into the skin. This step is crucial for ensuring that the highlights look natural, transitioning smoothly into the midtones and the shadows of the forehead. Don't forget to add skin texture to the eyelid as well, using the same techniques. To make the highlights even more striking, use a white jelly roll pen to create brightest points. These small bright points will add a touch of realism, making the drawing more lifelike and dynamic. Now let's move on to shading the areas around lower eyelid. Start by applying a base layer using HB graphite powder, ensuring even coverage to create a smooth foundation. After that, use your HB pencil to sketch a basic shape of lower eyelashes. Focus on capturing their natural flow and direction. Once the basic shapes are in place, take a sharp tip pencil eraser and begin adding texture to the lower eyelid. Next, use your pencil eraser to mark all the highlights on the base layer we added earlier. This will help you to define the areas where light naturally hits on the skin. To further enhance the highlights, take your electric eraser and carefully brighten them where needed, ensuring they stand out without being too harsh. To add depth, use your blending stump to create stubble shadows around the highlights, which will blend the skin tones and add realism to the texture. At this stage, the shading is not yet complete, as we all add final touches when we move on shading the cheek and nose. For now, let's focus on right eyebrow. Begin by sketching the basic lines of the eyebrow, following the natural curve and direction of hair. After you have drawn the outline, dip your brush in graphite powder and use it to apply a line of dark shadow near the nose. This will create depth and help the eyebrow to blend seamlessly into the face. Since the right eyebrow in the reference image is blurry and lacks detailed definition, there is no need to add too much detail here. Instead, simply replicate what you see in the reference image. Next, apply a base shade to the cheek and nose using the same brush in circular motions. Once the base shade in the place, refine the shadows on nose and cheek using small size brush. This will help to smooth out the transition between light and shadow, making the features appear more natural. Now take your 8B pencil to add darker shade in the nostril, which will add depth and contrast to the face. Next, return to your pencil eraser to refine the skin details you added earlier. If necessary, use a white jelly roll pen to add brightest highlights over the cheek, ensuring that they stand out clearly against the surrounding tones. To finish, use your pencil eraser to create additional texture in the areas between cheek and nose, adding lines or dots as seen in the reference photo. Finally, grab your blending stump to adjust light shadows between highlights, ensuring a smooth and realistic finish. Now use the same process for adding skin texture to the nose. Now coming on to the lower part of cheek, use your kneadable eraser or blending stump to add light and rough details. To create the illusion of short trimmed beard, use your 6B pencil to carefully draw small fine dots. Next, shift your focus to the mouth. Start by using higher grade pencil such as 6B or 8B to add deep dark shading inside the mouth, particularly around the corners and inner lips. Leave the tip of the tongue lighter as some light is reflecting on it. Use a small brush to blend these areas smoothly. For the upper lip, apply a base layer of shading using the same brush. Then enhance the shadows with 2B or 4B graphite powder, paying close attention to the natural curves and creases of the lips. After completing the mouth, turn your attention to the mustache. Begin by laying down the base with 4B graphite powder, applying it in thin layers until you achieve the desired level of darkness. Once satisfied with the base, take an 8B pencil and add downward strokes to simulate the direction and flow of mustache hair. Concentrate 6B powder in the areas where hair appear denser. And use pencil eraser to pick up excess graphite from the hair, creating a shiny or more realistic effect. Apply the same technique for shading base of beard as you did for mustache. Observe the reference photo carefully where the beard appears darker or lighter. Concentrate the graphite powder in these areas to build depth. Use 8B pencil to draw individual beard hair, following the natural direction and flow of hair. Now carefully use your pencil eraser to draw white shiny hair within the beard, ensuring the tip of eraser is clean and sharp. This step will help you to add highlight and create the illusion of texture and volume. Afterward, use your 8B pencil to add shadows within the beard hair, giving them more depth and realism. For the brightest hair, switch to an electric eraser, carefully erasing small sections to create the most intense highlights. After refining the beard, take a step back and review your entire sketch, correcting any mistakes you may find. Now finally add dark shade in the background using 8B graphite powder. Smudge the graphite perfectly to create pitch black shade in the background. And be careful not to smudge or ruin your drawing during this process. With these steps, the photorealistic sketch of Lionel Messi is complete and ready to be admired. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more art tutorials. And keep practicing, stay inspired, and I'll see you in my next video.